Hello, my name is Laura Maria Caldarone, and this is The Long Haul, this online series on long COVID. With us, we have Patricia Ramirez and Lucia Chavez from Texas, USA. As we spoke a few minutes ago, this is going to be an episode in English, but we will have some instances where Patricia will be answering in Spanish, so we'll have subtitles in English. Let's start. You are obviously part of the long haul because you have a loved one that has long COVID. So if you could tell us, what relationship do you have with this person that has long COVID?
Well, I'm Lucia. I have 19 years old. My sister, she lives here in Texas, and we were living in Mexico City. But since my sister got sick, we need to come here to take care of her.
Nuri enfermó desde marzo del año pasado y pues ha tenido periodos de altibajos. Incluso ha tenido que dejar de trabajar, ha padecido de dolores de cabeza constantes, dolor en el cuerpo y muchos síntomas que comparten los que tienen COVID persistente. Ella pues ha tenido que cambiar totalmente su modo de vida porque esto no le ha permitido continuar con su rutina. Vinimos para acá porque ella necesitaba ayuda y han pasado meses y aún no se recupera.
And I will answer in English because I know you understand very well. So how has she changed? So just tell me a little bit about her, what type of person she was, and what changes have taken place since she's had long COVID.
She was a very active person, and she always had to do something. She was taking classes of something, or she was working. Now
She's a different person.
yeah, since she had the long COVID, she all well most of the time she has headaches, or she has pain in her body. She gets tired very easily.
And this is, how long has it been that she has had long COVID?
Since March.
Since March 2020. And you moved to be with her and to help her?
In November last year, because when she got sick, I was finishing my high school, and it was very difficult for us because we had to be in contact with her, and if she doesn't wrote us a message, we were worried a lot about her. We didn't know if something could happen to her.
No podíamos venir porque en ese momento yo no podía venir porque también yo enfermé, pero fue terrible porque no sabíamos realmente cómo estaba. Y aquí, a partir de eso, los médicos no le han encontrado nada. Se ha hecho múltiples análisis, ha visitado muchos médicos y todos dicen, no, ha de ser esto, ha de ser lo otro, y no encuentran la razón y no quieren decir que sí, que posiblemente sea un COVID persistente. Y incluso le han dicho que no, que eso es algún problema mental. Y es algo muy, muy duro porque ella durante meses padeció de dolores de cabeza muy, muy fuertes, en donde hasta mover o el sonido de la cuchara con la taza, bueno, era una cosa horrible para ella. Entonces no podía dormir porque también cualquier sonido le molestaba. Eh, Estaba siempre con el dolor de cabeza. Bueno, eso fue horroroso para ella seguramente y pues muy preocupante para nosotros como familia. Y es muy difícil para las demás personas entender que eso pasa. Ahora que se están vacunando cuando tienen esos síntomas, pues logran entender un poquito porque dicen, si me dio un dolor de cabeza que sentía que me explotaba o que sentía que me moría, y lo han tenido 1 o 2 días por efectos de la vacuna. Entonces, toda la gente que está sufriendo el long COVID, eso lo ha tenido durante meses y meses y meses.
I mean, you already told us that you moved from Mexico to Texas to be with Nuri. Having someone that has long COVID, knowing and loving someone that has long COVID, has it changed how you deal with the pandemic, how you see the pandemic, how you act?
Yeah, yes, because we know that what the coronavirus can do, and seeing people here without the mask, it's like really it impacts us because we're like those people doesn't know what the coronavirus can do, and well, they haven't suffered something like my sister has.
Hemos visto diferencias en la calle. En México se tenía más preocupación en cuanto a usar los cubrebocas, la mascarilla, ponerse gel antibacterial, tenían acceso controlado a ciertos lugares, bueno, a la mayoría de los lugares. Y pues aquí cuando salimos, por ejemplo, a hacer el supermercado de las primeras veces que cuando llegamos aquí, pues veíamos a gente sin usarla. Sin usarla, en algunos sitios te pedían que lo usaras para entrar y mucha gente, pues aunque le dijeran algo, no les importaba, ¿no? Y pues sí es difícil ver eso porque pues, no sabes si esa persona viene mal, si va a contagiar a los que están ahí, a los que estamos, o a las personas que tienen este long COVID, que de repente tienen una mejoría y pueden recaer. Ahora, pues, te ven en la calle con la mascarilla y pues hasta te ven un poco raro.
Yeah, it's difficult because everybody is in a different situation. Everybody has lived through the pandemic differently. And sometimes it helps, but sometimes, like in this case, how you described it also with the vaccines, of people complaining and feeling 2 days of very bad headaches, and then realizing, okay, look at the people that have had long COVID for months with these headaches as one of the many symptoms. It puts things into perspective, no? It's very difficult, as we said before, for the person that has long COVID, but also for the people around that person. So in this case with Nuri, for you, the mother, and for you, the younger sister. Can you, if you could give a message to someone that also has a loved one that has long COVID, what would you tell them?
I will tell them to be patient, to be there for them, to enjoy the time together.
And you, Patricia?
Pues que no perdamos la esperanza, que así como hay médicos que no los toman en cuenta, pues debe haber otros que sí, que en cuanto pues empiecen a tener el tiempo y se den cuenta de que esto existe, pues tienen que hacer algo por ellos. Mientras tanto, los que estamos alrededor somos su apoyo y pues tenemos que permanecer fuertes y a su lado.
Thank you very much, Patricia. Lucy, it has been a pleasure talking to you. It's not a very nice topic, but it's a topic that needs to be spoken about for those that have long COVID and their loved ones. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
With us from Texas, we have Nuri Lopez, a 31-year-old young lady. Hi, Nuri. How are you doing?
Hi, Laura Maria. I'm doing fine. How are you?
I'm good. I'm looking forward to speaking with you. As we spoke before, when I approached you about this episode, about the series, you are obviously here with us today because you have long COVID. And before we get to know your story of how you got long COVID and what is it that you have and so on, tell us a little bit about yourself. What do you do, who you are, and let's start.
All right. Well, I'm Nuri. I'm living in Texas. I have been here for 4 years. Right now, I do collections, but my background is completely different. I'm an art restorer and I study cultural management. So usually I'm working in museums, preparing exhibitions, and well, preparing fossils or preparing other type of materials.
Nice. And now you're saying usually, has this changed before the pandemic, because of the pandemic, or were you working before in a museum? When did you start this change? Because you said usually.
Okay. Yes. Actually, before this, well, I have been with long COVID almost 16 months. At the time I was working in the same company now, but before getting the long COVID, I was doing volunteer work in 2 museums. So I will spend the week working at this company and then the weekends the Saturday in one museum and then the Sunday on the other museum. But now, since I got sick and I not able to do too many things, I just work in this company and I'm working remotely because I'm not able to do to the office every day, and even working from home, it's hard some days. It's like I can barely end the day.
So before you were already working in this company, but on top of that, you were doing other things that had to do with what you studied. So working in a museum, volunteering there, but because of long COVID, you had to cut back the hours, right? Do less, and like you said, work remotely. When did you get COVID? So you just mentioned that it's been more than a year that you've had long COVID, but if you can tell us a little bit of how you got COVID and then from there when and how you got long COVID and what is long COVID and so on.
Okay, yes, absolutely. I think I got COVID on March 8th of 2020. I'm not completely sure where I got it, but I think the dates match. And I was working in a museum on a Sunday doing volunteer work. And it's a big museum. It has like 4 floors. So it's full of people from all ages. They have a science exhibition. So you have a lot of kids also in there. And you have interactive activities in the museum. So that day I was just going all around the museum. I was trying all the games and the activities that they have. So I think I wasn't close to the people, but at the time we weren't taking precautions in Texas. Like they talk about the virus like it's something that is happening in China. Some countries are starting to be on lockdown. But in here, it was like something that we didn't really know if it was true or not. You know, it was like you didn't know that it was already happening in here. So my guess is while I was doing the activities, maybe touching some of the games or touching my eyes or maybe my mouth, it's when I got it. I remember that I was in the museum and then I was trying to be careful, just keeping distance in case, you know, just in case. And then I started to have a strong sore throat. And it always happened to me that when I'm about to get sick, it starts on the throat. But that day it was different. It was really strong and it used to stay all the time with me, you know, like for a week. So I was walking, you know, I was waking up every day and I was like, oh, my sore throat, it's hurting, you know, like, and I was like, do you think it's the virus? But then I was like, I don't think it is. Let's just wait. Maybe it's just the moment, you know. But I kept having other symptoms, but I was just working normally at the office. So I remember those days when I took the break with one of my colleagues. I don't know, we were sit down, and then when we had to return to the office, I was like, I'm so tired. I cannot get up. And she was like always joking with me, you know, because I used to be a very active person, like, you know, like walking all around. Every time I have 5 or 10 minutes, I will do a lot of things in that moment. And yeah, it changed me. I started to have a stronger headaches. I felt really dizzy. My shoulders started to hurt, but I was like, well, maybe I'm stressful, you know, I'm under stress, or I don't know. But then the back pain started to go worse. It started to hurt here and in the lower part of my back. And then I think it was 10, 11 days after, well, it was on March 17, I was feeling so sick at the office that I need to leave. And yeah, well, usually I'm this kind of person that I like to work and I like to do my best, you know, and stay overtime. And I rarely ask for time off. You know, like sometimes when I wanted to do a trip or something like that, I will take the day off. But it was the first time I had to leave because I was feeling sick and it was really sick, you know, and I didn't want to risk anybody else. So I guess that's how it started.
And from there, was there a moment that that you felt better as you didn't have any more symptoms, and then later on you had long COVID, or how did it work? So what you described right now was COVID, correct?
Yes, it was.
And then how did you go from COVID to long COVID? Was it immediate? Was it continuous? Was it, I don't know.
In my case, it was continuous because I started developing all the symptoms and then it got worse. So I was trying to get help, but at the time, all the doctors were like closed or they will do just video calls. And every time you need to schedule something, you will need to call them and they will see you or do a video call in 2 weeks, you know, and that was the sooner they could see you. So I started to call to the phone lines, you know, where the nurses give you advice about if it was COVID. And I remember calling and spending more than an hour to speak with a nurse. And all I will get is like, oh yeah, it seems like you have the symptoms of COVID, so it's probably that. So just stay at home. And they didn't help me, you know, and at the time I didn't have a place where I could do the test. So I was just like calling to one place to the other, but I was feeling really bad. I think I started having fever on, well, between the 17 and the 20. I didn't have a thermometer and you couldn't buy one At the time, it was like out of stock in here. So I remember that I was calling to one doctor and another, and then finally I got someone that accepted seeing me. So he was like, if you have a mask, I can see you. We can give you gloves. And well, since I used to prepare fossils in a museum, luckily I had a mask, a good one at the time. So I went to see him. And yeah, at the time he was concerned because he was like, yeah, you have all the symptoms. I was coughing, but just a bit. But I arrived and I had like a bit of palpitations. My oxygen level, it never went too low, but it was like 92, 94. So no, it wasn't the normal. Then every time I walk, my pulse will raise really high. I had fever. I had a lot of nausea. The headache, it was bad. I was really dizzy. The back pain and the pain in all my body was already bad. So he just prescribed me some medication, and he was like, "Oh, of course, take acetaminophen." That's one of the ones that I took the most in the beginning. But the problem is, I started the treatment. The fever went away maybe 5 days later, but I was still feeling really weak. I was, I remember those days, I woke up in the middle of the night with pain, feeling dizzy, like everything was moving. I had the palpitations, I had numbness on my face, on my arms. I would call my friends, and they were telling me like, no, you should go to the ER, to the emergency room. But I was like, I cannot drive like this. I cannot see well. Um, it was really bad because I was starting getting short of breath, and the doctors all they told you at the time, it was like, well, if at certain point you cannot breathe, just call 911.
Yeah.
And yeah, and that wasn't helpful, because at the time I was concerned, like, what about if I go to the ER? First, I don't know if I will be able to go there. And then if I'm there, what about if I have the virus and I give it to other people? Or what about if it's not that and I get it from someone else? Or maybe they won't know what to do with me. So I was like, maybe they are doing the same that I'm trying to do. So I will be like talking with my friends. I remember that even drinking water, it was awful. It was disgusting. I wanted to throw up. I was feeling so dizzy, that I tried to jump into the shower so I could get the fever down. But I was like completely, I don't know how I got there, honestly. I remember getting into the shower and just sitting down because it was terrible. And I think some of the times I was like almost unconscious because the time frame of all of that is kind of blurry.
So even
So yeah,
lost consciousness.
I think so. During those days, I was like lay on the couch sometimes, and I was like waking up and I see like it's noon, and then I was like, I need to eat something. I wasn't truly hungry, but I was like, I need to eat because if not, I won't be able to fight this, whatever it is. So I used to live by myself, so I didn't have anybody. I called my friends who live here, but they were like, yeah, if you want, I can go to pick you up and take you to the OR. But I was like, what about if I have the virus and I give that to you? I don't want to risk you. So every time that I thought about going to the hospital, I was like, no, I can not give this to someone else. So I tried to hold on, and I was telling my friends like, just stay on the phone for an hour with me. If this doesn't go better or I cannot handle it, then I will ask you to come. But yeah, it was awful. Some of my friends, They were really nice with me, and they will, you know, like buy things in the supermarket and leave it at the door. But yeah, it was like, it was really, really messy. Like, I feel like now in some things I'm so much better. And when I look back, I don't know how, how I went through all of that.
By yourself. You already mentioned how it continued, like the symptoms that you had and everything. But what about today? So over a year later, you have long COVID, July 2021. What are the symptoms that you have now?
Well, now it decreased. In the beginning, in all this time, I have made a list of 53 symptoms. And it seems like I still have like 31, 32. They don't come all together. So it's like one day I have 5 symptoms, then I have 2 days that I have 2 slight symptoms, and then I get kind of a relapse and I get 8 symptoms. So I still have the strong headaches, the dry eyes, the blurred vision, the sore throat, the arms pain, the numbness on my face, or sometimes this part gets really tense. It's like sometimes when you bite, you cannot go back to normal because it's like it froze and it really hurts. You know, I have some days my veins just start to get swollen. Sometimes it lasts 5 minutes, other times it can be hours. Sometimes it hurts, sometimes it doesn't, but it happens on my hands, on my feet, on this vein, sometimes on the face, but just a little bit. I have also, well, the blurred vision, the nausea, sometimes constipation, dry nose. I keep throwing like phlegms or small mucus strings, and sometimes it has blood on it, but doctors doesn't do much. I have, yes, I forget things. Other times I'm fine. My taste is not back to normal. Sometimes food tastes good, other times it tastes horrible. My smell sometimes is not normal either, but I just have like partial loss at the time. I keep like gaining weight and then losing weight out of nowhere because I keep the same diet. I have like constant thirst, clogging ears, pain on the ears, like burning sensation in here. What else? I'm still not able to do exercise. I used to walk a lot, you know, or maybe do exercise every day, but now I cannot even walk. Sometimes when I feel good, I walk 10 minutes, but I can do it like 3 times per week, the maximum. So yeah, I guess those are my symptoms now still. Now I'm much better because I can, you know, wake up and do a bit more of activities, but back on those months, I wasn't able to get up from bed from maybe March and April. Then on May, I have 3 weeks where I was feeling like I was recovering. It was never completely free of symptoms, but I thought I was improving. And then on after May, on June, I had a big relapse. And I started to have really strong headaches. Like I couldn't sleep because of the pain. It hurt me like here and here and here. And then the pain, it went through my, you know, this part of the head and behind my eyes. My nose was hurting. I had like the numbness in here, also on the fingers, sometimes on the feet. After I have that relapse on June, the headaches and the brain fog it start to be as bad that I couldn't work anymore. So I took from August to November so I could have family medical leave in my work because I wasn't able to do it anymore, you know, to concentrate. Sometimes with some symptoms, you can keep going, and with breaks, you can rest a bit. But with the headache and not being able to think clearly, it was impossible for me to work.
And you mentioned you kept a list of all the symptoms that you had since the beginning until now. You said 53, correct? 53.
Yes.
And what did it depend? Why do you know, or did you notice why you had certain symptoms certain days? Did it depend if, I don't know, if it was cold or if it was warm, or if you slept well, or if you drank enough water or too little water? Or were there things you would do or not do that would influence what symptoms you would have, or how many, or how strong, or no?
It might depend. The only thing that I notice now is that with the heat, I get worse. If I spend too much outside, like more than 10 minutes, then I usually get like a relapse the next day. Since I got sick, I have been really careful, you know, with what I eat, how many water I drink, and not having sugar. But I don't really notice that it's something in particular, because sometimes I feel like I do everything I'm supposed to do, like even sleeping well, taking things easy. And some days I start to feeling better and I'm like, oh my God, I'm recovering maybe, or this is an improvement. And then I wake up the next day and I'm feeling awful, but I don't really know why that happens.
And you already explained, and we can see it from not only your descriptions of the symptoms, but also what you were telling us that you used to do before you got sick, that you were volunteering, working in a museum, and then what you had to stop, that you had to start working remotely, and so on. And with your description of your symptoms, we can see that obviously life has changed. Your life has changed with having long COVID. What would you say is the biggest change?
I will say more than one. One is the energy. My levels of energy are completely not the same. You know, like my 100% before is like, now when I'm feeling the best is just 40, maybe 50% of what I could do before. So for me, it's a big difference, because first, I don't have as many energy as I used to. I had for sometimes memory fog, you know, like I was forgetting even things that I commonly do at my work. I couldn't focus to read, which is something that I really enjoy. Also the back pain and the arms pain. Sometimes one of my hobbies is to draw, or I love to read. And when I get sick, I stop doing that, because I grab a pencil and after an hour, my hand starts to hurt so much. So it's like I cannot do that anymore. I cannot read well because I don't focus more than 4 pages, for example. So I would say, yeah, it has changed me in every way, like physically, mentally, and of course also emotionally. You know, it doesn't matter how strong you can be. This is like just hit you as a storm or a hurricane, and it completely changed your world. So now I notice that even at work, I'm not as productive as I used to be. No, like I used to be like maybe one of the top 5 on my team, and now I'm like the 10, the 20, and I try to do my best, but I cannot keep up doing too many things at the same time. Sometimes I don't have the clarity in my mind. Other times I try to do fast and I can't, even if I try to keep myself positive, you know, like is your spirit is one and your mind is one, but then your body is doing completely the opposite. So I think it's hard for all of us, all the ones that got the long COVID. And I know there is people that is having, worse symptoms than mine 15 months after they got the COVID.
It's difficult to understand. It's difficult to explain what long COVID is and how it affects, how it impacts your life. If you could tell me in, I don't know, one sentence, let's say, or two sentences, what long COVID means to you.
Well, for me, it means something starts to attack your body. It doesn't matter how much you do. It's like it throws you down. It completely changed your life, and it also does to your loved ones, because you cannot keep doing as much activity as you used to. And even if some doctors say that this is anxiety, I don't think it is. Maybe when you try to get help and they don't respond as you expect, yes, that might cause us frustration and anxiety, but that's not the main cause. So I will say that, yeah, long COVID is something that completely changed your life. Nobody is completely, how you say it, you can be really strong, but it's not enough to beat this sometimes,
If a doctor doesn't know what is happening or how to help you or when you will get better, how can your sister, your mother, your friend know and help you? And if it's difficult for you to get answers as the person that is suffering through, in your case, 52 symptoms in over a year, what do you do? So my question to you is, what message would you give to the people that have long COVID? Maybe people that have had it as long as you had, so something that has helped you, maybe not necessarily helped you physically or getting better, but just emotionally. Or especially what message can you give to the people that are just starting with long COVID? They're part of the second, the third wave, and it's all very unfamiliar to them.
Well, I will say to them that they will need to be very patient, because unfortunately, even if there are some doctors that now they are trying to help people like us, they don't have the answers yet, and they are still doing some trials. So the only option we have is to take care of ourselves as much as we can. Um, find support in your friends and in your family. If someone doesn't believe you, I think don't frustrate yourself. Sometimes when someone doesn't go through the same than you, they are not able to fully understand it. So just try to explain it. But if they don't understand, just think in what you need to get better, and always think that there will be an improvement, even if it's slow. When you go to the doctors, what it has helped me is I made list. I take a full kind of book with all my results, and then I have some pages where I put the list of my symptoms, and I have the medications what I have taken, the doctors that I have visited, and the dates, the diseases that they are ruled out, and the small findings that they found on me. I think that could help, but what we can do is, well, read about the long COVID, because you need to be informed about what is going on. Even if it's difficult, it's better to know than just don't know what to do. Sleep as well as you can, drink water, eat as healthy as you can, try to avoid the sugar, ask your doctors to look for some bacteria or other viruses because sometimes if they can find something, they can give you a treatment and at least reduce your symptoms. That has helped me a lot. Don't overdo stuff. Just if you feel good to go for a walk, do it, but don't force yourself and don't feel frustrated. Just think that this is a small pause in your life, but then you will come back to what you did before. I think that's my message, and well, a big hug for everybody because I know this is hard.
Nury, it has been very, very nice to talk to you. Thank you. Thank you for taking the time to tell your story, so we can better understand what people that have long COVID, whether they've had it for over a year or just a few months, are going through. And before we say goodbye to each other, I just have one more question, which is, if you can tell me why you said yes, why you want to tell your story in this series.
Because I want people to get aware of what is the long COVID. You know, maybe you see the TV or hear the radio, but they don't take the COVID seriously. And I would like them to know that the long COVID is possible. Before this, I was a healthy person. I rarely got sick, you know, like maybe my family will get sick 2-3 times, then get well, and I won't get sick. I used to get sick maybe 1 time per year, and it was something that I will recover soon. And I didn't have underlying conditions. So just be careful because this virus exists. I think you can still have fun. You can still meet your friends. Just be safe because you don't want to go through all of this.
Exactly. Be safe and be cautious and conscious, and yeah, you don't want to go through it. And I am sorry that you are going through it. And I really hope and
Thank you.
think that sooner rather than later, there's going to be answers and help. And like you said, even if it's slow, it's something.
Yes. And well, I just want to add that after living all of this, I really think it's not that bad to wear a mask. You know, I know sometimes it's hot, sometimes it's uncomfortable, but believe me, if I could have avoided that at the time, if someone had told me, if you wear a mask and you keep your distance, you probably won't go through all of that, I will totally do it. You know, it's not that hard. It's better just a little bit of feeling uncomfortable than being this sick for a long of time and not being able to do what you want and pursue your dreams because this totally stops you. Yeah.
Definitely. So thank you, Nury. And this is it, your story.
Thank you so much for having me, Laura. I really appreciate you doing this and hearing this story. I hope it's helpful for others.
I'm sure it will. Thank you. And really, I wish you and your family all the best.
Thank you. Likewise.